Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Take. Yesterday, I did the story about how the Chancellor is looking at changing the way stamp duty gets paid from the purchaser paying it to the seller paying it. And I pointed out that this is a ridiculous idea, means people getting hit twice, and that it would just lead to people just not selling their properties. They just remortgage the properties and buy a new property with the money, but do it elsewhere and rent out that one. But it wouldn't be sold, and so it would actually crash all the stamp duty money that came in. It was a ridiculously stupid idea from a very, very stupid woman. And also there was other problems with it as well, and the rates were all wrong. The mortgage companies didn't want it, etc., etc. Well, it's only lasted 24 hours, hasn't it, since it was announced? And already they're going, oh, well, no, it was only a proposal. We're just looking into it. Oh, no. And they're walking away. They're reverse ferreting in 24 hours. 24 short hours, and this was flown out for people to see, and then it was hastily pulled back because they realised how dumb an idea it was. Everyone in the Treasury must be looking at her and thinking, she's an absolute moron. So it's been dismissed. It's gone. They're walking it back, as I say. They're saying the line is, it was never a serious proposal. We were just looking and mulling over many different ways of changing the system. These were not formally announced. No, they were flying the flag. They were gaslighting to see if it would work, and they found it isn't. And it was The Guardian, ironically, a very pro-Labour newspaper, that broke the story and reported that officials were looking at a potential national property tax. The other thing about it was, of course, that any house over £500,000 would be subjected to an annual levy. More than just the tax when you sell your home, although currently it's the tax when you buy your home. They wanted that tax when you sell your home, but also an ongoing one of something like 0.8% of the value of the home per year, simply for owning something. Oh yes, but what you own is very expensive. Well, here's the thing. You can go and buy a £499,999 house out in the Midlands somewhere, and you would get a magnificent 4-5-bed detached, 2 en suites, lovely garden, driveway, double garage. Or you could spend 500,000 in London and get a 1-bed flat, 2-bed flat, and be subject to that tax, which you wouldn't be subject to in your huge house in the Midlands. It's a tax on Londoners, isn't it? And it's a tax on low-paid Londoners, because they're the only ones that are buying these sort of houses. But it said they're definitely walking this back. They're walking away because it's a dumb idea from a very stupid woman yet again. Now, she's ordered officials to review the country's sort of complex property taxes ahead of the October omnishambles. But I don't think she's capable of understanding the complexities involved. But here's a simple thing. Why would you tax someone simply for owning something? If someone's gone to the expense of buying a house, they've already paid the stamp duty. You've had your money. They're continuing to pay the council tax, even though nobody really knows why. Why should a big house have any more council tax than a small house? You know, does it produce any more rubbish to be taken away? No. You know, charge for the service. Don't charge for where the service is. Work out how much it costs to empty the bins. Work out what's the cover needed for this, for that, for the other. And then just charge that value, right? But no, they want to charge more for the bigger houses. It just seems ridiculous, doesn't it? If you buy something, it should be yours. You shouldn't be taxed for ownership. Experts at the International Monetary Fund and Institute of Fiscal Studies have urged the Chancellor to scrap stamp duty, which they argue discourages people from moving. Stamp duty and other property taxes are forecast to raise $15.7 billion this year, which the government have already given away many, many times over. So what's the bloody point? A total of $50 billion is forecast to be raised from council tax this year, according to the Office of Budget Responsibility. And again, £50 billion to do what? Now, I think what we need is to scrap council tax. And basically you say, let's put it out to tender. What's the cheapest bin, people? What's the cheapest of that? What's the cheapest service you can do for that? Boom, 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 boom. And then pay it centrally. And that way you can actually get rid of local councils. Think of the saving there, and just outsource everything to private companies who are generally much more efficient. So, takes your money and takes your chance. Let's get rid. I mean, they'll say, oh no, but you're taking away local, representation. Well, good. We don't need Why do we need local representation? Why do we need a local councillor? To do what? Seriously, to do what? What do they actually do? They don't provide services. We can get that through through a private system. Go to a private company, say, right, nationally, we want a whole series of companies that will do this service, a whole series of companies that will do that service, and so on. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's madness. So you go into different regions, and you get different providers for different regions, some crossover and things like that. And you do it for each and every one of the services. All paid through central taxation. You don't need local authorities. You can save all that money and get rid of all those jobs that aren't needed anymore. Think of the savings to the country. I bet you couldn't even name your local councillors. Thanks very much. Bye.